a lot of FaceTime with you folks. As you know, we're in the thick of this ordinance, and I did not prepare a PowerPoint presentation for you, but I just wanted to talk about a pilot project that we're working on. So, as I mentioned earlier, the ordinance does not include a reuse program, a mandatory reuse program, although that was initially something that we proposed. And it does not include a container fee, which is also something that we initially proposed. Those two areas felt like they were just too undeveloped at this point. And so those are now part of a staff referral that goes along with the proposed ordinance that asks staff to create a reusables program and fund a pilot project. We also went out to try and create our own little collaboration and seek some funding to start a pilot program, and we received $10,000 from the Chancellor's Community Partnership Fund, which is a sort of town and gown partnership fund. And it requires a partnership between the University of California and other community groups. And we put together a partnership between the Cal Sustainability Office, which is really their zero waste division, and sort of their Department of Public Works, if you will, and this ASUC, the Associated Students Sustainability Office, which gives out about $300,000 a year in small grants to student groups, so it's a really great group to work with. And then the Telegraph Business Improvement District, which is part of their city charter. That's the property owners get taxed and then put money into this business improvement district. They're paying a lot of money to clean up Telegraph Avenue. We got $10,000 from the Chancellor's Fund, and then another $50,000 from the Plastic Solutions Fund to try and run a pilot in South Berkeley, which is adjacent to the university. Telegraph Avenue has about 100 food businesses within about a 5-block radius. There are 20 cafes within walking distance of the university. And for the university, it's a real problem because the university's compost and recycling program is different than the city's. So as soon as you walk on campus, you've got a different recycling and compost program, and you've got all this disposable foodware coming from off campus onto campus, and then they have to handle it and deal with it, and it's a real problem. They have public receptacles for composting. The city of Berkeley does not. So it just, it's a real mess, as you can imagine. We initially thought that GoBox was going to be sort of an off-the-shelf solution for us in that area, and then as we began to really dig into what is their business model, what's the context in which it's successful, how successful has it been in the few areas in the Bay Area that it's operating, we found that the subscription model probably wasn't going to really work in an open market context. Not having mandatory program in place was going to be a barrier in terms of restaurant adoption. The high subscription cost for students in particular was going to be a challenge. And so really we're looking to pilot a free to the customer deposit-based system. Those seem to be kind of the key elements after looking at a whole bunch of the programs that Miriam talked about and talking with 5 or 6 of the providers who could actually provide a service in Berkeley. Those seem to be the elements that will really make this work. Obviously, convenience is important, but we also feel like there has to be a regulatory context. Convenience and cost are going to be barriers in this. Just to provide this service, so each of the businesses, we asked them, and we've talked to GoBox, obviously, Aussie, who's got the reverse vending machine, and Cup Club, which is in the UK, but looking to expand to California and other parts of the US. Those are the 3 main ones that we've really dug into deeply with and done much deeper dives and learning about their programs. Each of them has real challenges with them. GoBox, I would say one of the challenges with them is that they basically have one size multi-container sort of bento box. Doesn't work for soup, it doesn't work for other size servings, so you've got this sort of multiplicity of needs that restaurants have. That's a challenge. I think they are app-based, and that's a strength to having a way to track the data, a simple way to know when you have deposited or not deposited your container, returned or not returned your container. There's some power to that. Oh, I should mention the fourth program that we looked into was something pioneered by Cal Dining on campus called Choose to Reuse, C-H-E-W-S, Choose to Reuse. Cute, right? You know, the thing that they found on campus, and this is a deposit-based system where you put down a $5 deposit on the container at Cal Dining, and then you could take your food with you to your dorm room. Most of the students eating at Cal Dining are going between a dorm room or class, and they're coming back over and over. Their meal cards are being swiped there. Because they never really see that charge, they had like an 80% loss rate on their containers. So they didn't really feel like they were achieving their sustainability goals in just putting out more sort of disposable reusables. Maybe they're getting reused in the dorm room or repurposed or something, but so Cal Dining kind of has a bad taste in their mouth about reusable programs and, you know, what's the right context for them. When we talk to Aussie, which is a reverse vending machine program, they're like, wow, let us in the door because we have a 98% retention record in all the universities that we work in. Great thing about Aussie Box, you put it in a reverse vending machine, automatically the data is collected, who deposited it, it's got a QR code on it that gets scanned. They get great data on the back end. They know immediately if you've returned something. It's not like, oh, I scanned this thing at my home and then threw it in the garbage can. You might have some loss in GoBox. So, but the machine costs a lot of money. You can lease them or you can buy them. For our purposes, 15 grand out of a 60 grand program just for the machine wasn't going to really work. Their leases are 2 years. But a real other barrier for us was the it needs data and power. You know, it has to have an Ethernet connection or a wireless connection to connect to, and it needs power, and it's not waterproof. And I was like, if it's not waterproof, I'll bet it's not really Telegraph Avenue proof. It's not really going to be street proof, so, you know, it's got to be something that really can take a beating and keep on working. So where would these things live? Could they live in a restaurant? Would they be in, you know, obviously at 15 grand a pop, we're not going to put them in every restaurant. Could they be on campus and off campus? So, you know, some real things, possibilities there, but also some real barriers. The one that seems currently like potentially most feasible is Cup Club. And Cup Club, you pay a deposit on a polypropylene insulated coffee cup. It's designed mostly for cups, which we actually feel like cups are not going to be the biggest problem. We feel like this fee and the bring your own is going to get us a very long way with cups. But their program has drop-off locations like GoBox, but the actual containers have an RFID chip embedded in them. So when they bring those containers back to their wash facility, they all get sort of immediately picked up by a receptor, and they can tell, you know, they get the same kind of data that you get from the reverse vending machine. You know how long people have kept them, where they've migrated from, what restaurant they originated in, how long the user had them, where they were finally deposited. Because there's no machine, you can have many more drop-off locations. You could have them on campus and off campus. But they don't currently do any containers. So we were kind of hoping we'd get a container program, but maybe a cup pilot would be the way to go. So we're still very much in this, trying to explore the field, looking, you know, as Mary mentioned, there are a lot more in Europe. A lot of those European projects aren't really ready and able to come to Berkeley. when we talked to a few of them of like, well, what do you think a citywide program would work? Because this is really just, you know, one business district. Maybe we could get 10 to 20 businesses involved or something. You know, the numbers that people have talked about in terms of starting up a citywide program are sort of $5 to $10 million. That's what they think it would take to get in the game and get it going. So probably not something we're going to expect our municipal government to pay for. It's probably going to be that, I mean, this is the structure that we had envisioned in terms of what would a mandatory program look like. If you offer disposable takeoutware, you would also have to offer a reusable program to the customer. That would need to be paid for by the business, meaning the service for collection, washing, sanitizing of that container, whether it's a cup or a box or whatever, would be paid for by the business in the same way that they're currently paying for disposables. The deposit would be on the customer. So the way that you get these things back is by requiring a deposit on them. We think that one way to engage, we have a deposit system that works really well in California. It's called the bottle bill. Anybody heard of it? Yeah, it's $1 billion plus program a year. It works, and that's partly because there's a value on every one of those cans and bottles. Somebody's going to pick them up and bring them back. And so we have 75, we've been above 80% retention on these bottles that are everywhere. We think that model can really work. That way, if a student is lazy and tosses one on campus, there's going to be somebody there who goes, oh, that thing's worth $1. I'm going to pick it up and take it back someplace to get my buck. So how do you get that redemption program? Most of the programs are app-based on a phone. Most of the people collecting cans and bottles, I'm not sure that they all have smartphones right now. At least in Berkeley, it's a lot of homeless and very low-income people that are doing that collection. So a token system might work better. A specific redemption location where you can get deposits back. These are all things that we're thinking about. It's how do you get a redemption program that will really work for the folks who are going to also redeem those boxes. So that's kind of where our thinking is currently. I didn't really finish out the model. I just want to say our thought was that the city, individual businesses could have a branded program that they want to run themselves, like if Starbucks or McDonald's or whoever has a brand that they really want to have all the boxes stamped with and they want their own branded program. That could be fine. Not every business is going to do that. So thinking that the city would franchise this service in the same way that they might franchise waste collection or that they might franchise cable service or other services that cities franchise. That was kind of the model that we were thinking might be put forward in Berkeley. So I'll leave it there for more Q&A, but that's where we're at with this pilot in Berkeley.